based on the best available science. Your office has primary responsibility for helping the President achieve this objective. You may be aware that there's a pending science policy decision at the National Toxicology Program that involves the listing status of formaldehyde in an upcoming report on carcinogens. This listing status is very important as it is the basis for regulatory actions that may be taken now or in the future by OSHA, EPA, and other federal agencies, and additionally may directly affect marketplace, purchasing, and legal decisions in the near future. My understanding is that the studies and data sets that were reviewed by the NTP in its ongoing decision-making process are the same as those used in the draft formaldehyde assessment by the EPA. As you may know, the National Academy of Sciences recently called that EPA draft assessment into question and raised serious concerns suggesting the draft assessment is in need of substantial revision at the very best. I assume you agree the federal government must have consistent, clear, and coordinated scientific positions on matters of public health. Considering the inconsistent positions on fundamental science issues between these bodies, can you assure me that you will personally be involved in reviewing this issue and ensuring that any policy decision made by the NTP will reflect the best available and sound science, including recommendations and conclusions of the national academies? Also, OIRA from time to time has found it useful to engage the National Academy of Sciences to review scientific evidence and provide an independent assessment. Will you engage the Academy on scientific questions at hand in the NTP report prior to its release?
Thank you for that. Our domain, our central domain, involves regulation and rulemaking, and the best available science is crucial to that, and we care a lot about the National Academy of Sciences. I work closely with the President's Science Advisor, John Holdren, and the Office of Science and Technology Policy to make sure the science is right. On the particular issue you raise, it's not rulemaking in the sense that's our normal domain, but I can promise you this, that in the next 24 hours I will discuss this with John Holdren.
And let me let you know why I'm concerned about it. We heard earlier that regulations are good, and they are in some cases. I'm not sure they're always good for jobs, but sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But formaldehyde is of great concern. In Giles County alone, we have an industry there that employs over 600 people. We're also looking at probably an announcement in the next week that we're going to lose some jobs in that same county. It's a county of 17,000 people, and we're looking, based on regulations, losing over the course of the next couple of years. We have a good chance of losing, if these regulations go into effect, 700 jobs, and you can do the multipliers on that and then realize that the multiplier is higher in rural areas where the money tends to stay in the community. When I'm talking about the county, we're not talking about one town, we're talking about all the towns add up to 17. So the end of the county that has the 600 jobs based on an industry that uses formaldehyde is extremely significant. And it's not the only county in the 9th Congressional District of Virginia where jobs can be impacted by these regulations. So I do ask you to look into that. Let me switch over to another subject of interest in the district, and that is the milk regulations. We do appreciate that the EPA did decide not to regulate, and I assume you stand by your statement in your opening statement, both written and oral, as to that, and I appreciate that. Let me ask you this. It is also fair to say that those regulations treating milk because of the animal fats as an oil never actually went into effect, that they had been, so the phrase around here I'm learning is the can had been kicked down the road for some time, and without the April 12th EPA announcement that they were not going to, that they were going to exempt the milk products that you mentioned in your written statement, without that exemption, they would have been regulated in November of this year. Is that not correct?
I believe that's mostly correct. My understanding is that the coverage of milk actually was real, and in the law, enforcement, and this is a good thing, was not firm. So it was in kind of an enforcement limbo.
Yes, sir. And without the action on April 12th, the enforcement would have begun in November.
That's correct.
All right. I appreciate that, and thank you very much, and appreciate your work on trying to save jobs. Like so many others, that is a main concern in our district, and we hope that you do have the President's ear and that you can convince him to roll back some of these regulations that have already gone into effect and not propose or not have them go into effect where they're going to cost jobs like the milk regulation would have done.
I thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, is recognized for 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Sunstein, for being here. And I'd like to talk about the importance of regulations on protecting our economy. In advance of the hearing, both Chairman Upton and Chairman Stern stated we please the administration sharing our concerns that burdensome regulations are stifling investment and chasing jobs overseas. I have an industrial base, and I share that concern.